This is something which we'll be discussing today about decision making. What's the concept of decision making? What are the steps involved in decision making? As your kids from 8th to 12th, we'll discuss something related to your career decision making also, different models. Then prioritization, what's the importance of prioritization? Some tools which can help you in implementing decision making as well as the prioritization technique. So let's begin. So what's decision making? I have a question to all of you. We heard this term, it's just a common term, right? That we use maybe in our day-to-day life about decision making or about decisions about prioritization. So what is decision making? I would say people often say they find it really difficult to take decisions in their life. I could see some students typing in the chat box. It's really difficult to take decisions. I have seen a lot of people saying this. Decision making plays an inevitable role in our daily life. I would say life is all about taking decisions. Taking decisions at different points of life or different points. Right from the morning, when you feel like, you want to get out of bed, from getting out of the bed to brushing your teeth and everything, you are making simple decisions in your life. We are constantly making choices or constantly making decisions in our activities. Even it's your school life or even somebody's professional life or even somebody's personal life, everybody is taking decisions at different parts. And some of the decisions are automatic, like what we have told, or taking a bath. So all these are some of the decisions that's automatic, or we'll do it as a part of our daily schedule, or how we are going to do different tasks in a day. So we'll first see the definition of decision. Decision is an act of selection or choice of one action from several alternatives. So you are having multiple options or multiple set of actions. From that, you're choosing one, and that's what the decision you made. Like today, you are having a lot more options. You can spend time with your family, you can watch some movies, or it's like you can simply sit, you can sleep. A lot of options were there. But you choose something like you want to attend the session. It's a decision that you made. So I would describe different types of decision making or different people or different actions in which people are taking decisions. Some people make decisions by their own. Some will be like, they'll search for a lot of information. They'll gather a lot of information, and based on that only, they'll take a decision. Some will ask for recommendations from a lot of people. They'll ask advice from expert people. That's also a part of decision making. Then I would say something funny that we all have done in our school life. Something like tossing a coin. It was also a part of decision making that we have done. Or maybe you as kids are doing it now also. So what the process of decision making is, it's the process of choosing the right and practical course of action from alternative to achieve the specified result. It's the process of choosing the right and the practical course of action from different set of alternatives so that you have to reach a particular goal. You need to get a specified result. You already have decided on it. You need to choose the process to reach the goal. Now, I think it's a very important part both in your professional as well as your personal life. And maybe when working in a company or working in a work environment, something like IT company, I would just take an example like that. So many people will not be ready to accept the responsibility. They'll not come forward to take the responsibility. Why? Because they are afraid of the result. Or decision making is a very important part in professional life. It's a very important quality that is needed by the future leaders. I know it's a mix of students from 8th to 12th. So for 11th and 12th students, you might be thinking about which course, which campus, which college, which university, which entrance exam. You'll have a list. You need to take decision on all these things, right? So as kids from 9th or 10th, you'll be thinking about, I'm 10th will end now. I need to choose on which streams, whether it's computer commerce, whether it's pure science, whether it's physics or computer science, whether it's mathematics, or it's a combination of math or biology. A lot of things are there in your mind, and you are planning to take decisions on them. So here today we'll be discussing about the decision-making process. What all steps you need to follow before taking a decision? What all things you need to be conscious about before taking a decision? What is the need or what's the importance of decision-making? It's the process of, it's a process that can be learned by all of you. Maybe even I am learning to be a good decision maker in my life. There are situations in which we'll take some decision. Maybe the result is not a good one. So we'll learn something from that. We'll keep that in our mind and we'll move forward. That's what every student or every individual has to do. Why the concept of decision making is important? The first one is it's an indicator of how effective or how much effective your life is. So it's an indicator of maybe your life. And I would say decision making can be called as a game changer. How many of you feel like it can be a game changer? It's like maybe taking a course which you never thought of. After taking a psychometric, you thought like you'll go for BCom. After a psychometric test, you felt like, yeah, I'll go for this designing course because the test was showing like, yeah, designing is more suitable for you. So you took that course. It's a game changer of your life. It turned your life upside down. That's something, a positive part. It can help you to boost confidence. That's another advantage of decision making. If you're taking a decision, you find it successful, automatically you're confident. You're ready to take another decision. You're ready to take another responsibility. And the next important step is building your personality. It helps to build your personality. When you take a decision, it's something like it's successful or it failed. Now you have an analysis. What's the status? What happened? What are my weak points that made it fail? Or what points led me to succeed in the decision that I took? So all these are some of the evaluations or the after effects. So it can affect your life. It can help you to improve your life. So decision making is a really important process. Now moving on to the decision making process and the steps that is there. I would say decision making is something called a cognitive ability. Decision making can vary from different individual. It varies from person to person. Your decision making capacity is different. My decision making capacity is different. So with the course of time, we can work to improve the process or improve our ability in taking up the decisions. So I would call it as a process as well as a skill or maybe as a habit. It's just a combination of all the things. So these are the 7 steps which you need to have an understanding before taking maybe a career decision or an important decision in your life. As your kids, you have taken decisions, maybe small decisions in your life. But when it comes to a life-changing decision, you need to understand what all things or what all steps you should follow before taking it. So these are the 7 steps. We'll discuss all the steps. So I'll just read out what are they. The first one is define the problem. Gather information, identify alternatives, analyze and choose the best alternative, implement, choose an alternative, and review your decision. So we'll see each one of them in detail. So the first step is defining the problem. Sorry, it's a very simple step, right? You're planning to do something. So it's a question or it's some task which you're going to do. Or you're planning to take a decision. So it's a situation where you have a lot of constraints. So you need to correctly identify what is the question. For every question, everything you're answering in your exam paper, you have to have a question for it. So when you're defining the problem, you need to have a question for which you have to find out the answer. And it's not something like that you study. It's through experience and it's through exposure. So identify the problem that you need to solve or identify the question that you need to answer. Once you identify it, you can clearly define it in your own terms. There are certain situations in which a lot of companies have failed. Why? Because they misunderstood the problem. They were not able to identify the problem in the correct statement or in the correct way. So try to find out what the question is or how you're going to define the problem. That's the first step. Now, the second step is gathering information. Once you clearly understood your question, the next step is gathering information. You need to collect relevant information related to your question or related to your decision. Because it's like if you're having a lot more information, your decision-making process will be easy. When it comes to career, it's like you need to have an understanding about, yeah, when you have decided on this course, like BTech, there are a lot of branches. You need to study about each branch. What is robotics? It's a combination of electronics, computer, and mechanical. You need to have an understanding about it. So what's there in the mechanical part? What's there in the electronics part? Or what's there in the programming part? So you need to understand which languages are there or what's happening. So you need to gather relevant information to make the informed decision. And the advantage is that effective decision making requires information from different sources. You can collect it from your seniors. I'm mostly focusing into career part because I think that would be helpful for you. So maybe 3 or 4 of your seniors have joined different campuses across the country. You can ask them what all things they have done, which all exams they have completed, what was their preparation strategy, how much time they have invested in one particular process, maybe a coaching, how many mock tests they have attended. A lot of things are there to collect. This is where you need to work on. And this was the second step, which is called gathering information, which is a very important part. And you are having multiple sources. You can depend on internet or a lot of sources are there. Yes. Now the third step is identifying alternatives. Yes, I can see some students are raising their hands. If you have anything, you can type those in the chat box. Maybe by towards the end of the session, we'll have a discussion about the things that we have discussed today. Okay. So what's this step or what is called as identifying alternatives? When you're gathering information, you understood that this is not the one college which is providing this course. When you're researching about things, you have an understanding that this is not the campus which you prefer to study. So while collecting information, you realize that there is more than one solution to a problem. There are a lot more solutions to a single problem. So you have to find out a certain criteria in such a way that you will be able to filter them, or you'll be able to find out which one is best. So identifying alternatives is the steps in which you are finding out all the possible solutions to the problem. What are the problems, whether it's related to career, whether it's related to something personal, whether it's related to something professional, you have to identify the different alternatives or different methods which you can help you to solve the problem. Now I'll discuss about something called brainstorming and Delphi technique. This is something which is being followed by different companies. I hope you have heard this term. I think chat box is enabled. So if there is anything, you can type there. Okay. Yes. So what is brainstorming? In a lot of companies, I would say management firms, they'll use this concept called brainstorming. What it can be? There will be a group of 5 or 10 people. They'll be sitting together. They'll be discussing about different things. Maybe when their company is having an issue, they'll be finding out solutions. What's the advantage of having a group finding out a solution to a problem? If it's a single person who is finding out the solution, it will be like he'll never think of different angles. When there are a group of people, somebody will say something. Maybe another person is able to develop an idea from what this person have told. So that's the importance of brainstorming, and that's the concept which many companies are using. It's something sort of a group thing. Now the second one is Delphi technique. This is also being used to find out alternatives by different companies. Where what they'll do is they'll prepare some questionnaires and they'll be distributing it across the different employees or different group of people. So it's also they'll be collecting opinion from different people or different sect. I'm able to collect opinion from different group of people. So that's what the step is called, identifying alternatives. I started checking for solutions. After analyzing the problem, after understanding, after collecting information, I started finding out the solutions. And I have set up a barrier or a criteria in which I'll filter out the solutions also. Now, I think, yes, we'll move on. The next step, I hope this criteria is very similar to you, or this is something which you have seen in your school or maybe in different classes. Once you have discussed about the different alternatives, the important step is to analyze based on the criteria that I set, and I need to choose the best alternative. This is the step of the decision-making process in which you are planning to take up the decision. Till now, you have discussed about different things, identified the problems. Maybe I have gathered a lot of information. I found what are the solutions for this problem. Now, this is the actual step in which I'm going to take up a decision, or this is the actual step in which I'm going to select my option, which is the best alternative. There are different methods for this. I would say when you're taking a career decision, everybody will have a dream. Like in my life, I'll be working in this company, something like Google or Amazon, or maybe somebody in mechanical sector, different sector. You'll have different companies. Basically, I'm from that background, so that's why I'm talking more about it. So everyone will have a dream. Similarly, or everyone will think about something. Every alternative or every solution that you're thinking will have some positives and negatives. Like us, we are also having some positives and negatives, right? So every solution will have different problems or different positives and different negatives. So the first method is you can list out the positives and negatives of each one of them. So if I'm joining in this college, they're not providing any placement facilities. That's a con. If I'm joining in this college, this is the previous year placement statistics. They are providing a lot more opportunities. That's a positive. So you have to list out the pros and the cons of all of them. That's the first step. And the second one is something called SWOT analysis. I've not mentioned it in the slide, but still it's important. I hope everybody knows this concept of SWOT, right? It's the strength, weakness, opportunities, and the threat. In different career counseling sessions, you have heard this term, SWOT. So you have to identify what are your strengths, what are your weakness, what opportunities you have, what is the threat that's in front of you. So you need to analyze these 4 factors and you need to choose the best solution for your problem. That's another thing. Now, identifying pros and cons, SWOT analysis, and the third one is a decision matrix. We'll discuss more about decision matrix in this session itself, that to really detail. So whenever you're planning to choose an alternative, think about you need to complete a task in a time frame. Timing or time management is also a very important factor, right? You need to submit your assignment on Monday. The teacher told it's the last date. At least by Monday 5 p.m., you have to submit it. That's the time or the time frame or the criteria that also you need to consider when you're taking a decision. Now we are moving into the last stages of decision-making process, and it's implementing choose an alternative. Now, as we have analyzed different solutions, we have selected one which is the best choice. This is the step in which we are going to implement it. I would say it's not a single day process in which you are choosing your career. It's a research of maybe months, maybe years. For every individual, it is different. Some students have researched about new technologies that are coming up. They want to study that. Some students are really interested into robotics, so they are studying about those. So it's not a single day thing. So whenever you have taken a decision, whenever you have taken an alternative, whenever you have a solution, you have to change it into a plan. Planning is really important, right? So it's not a one-day process. Once you identify it, you have to change it into a plan and you have to implement it. It will take some time for you to implement it or you to execute it. But it's the best way in which you should take a decision. You need to analyze different things. You need to find the best alternative. You need to find a plan on how to implement the alternative, and then you need to execute the plan. This is the step. Now, there is one more step we are having. It's reviewing your decision. Maybe you have taken this decision maybe 2 months before, but due to some reasons, you have not implemented it. Maybe something new happened in the 2 months so that you can just review it. Just go through all the process and find out, is this correct? Can I implement it now? That also you need to check. It's just going back through the things. So another perspective, this is something which is related to your career. So another perspective is you have to evaluate the outcome of your decision. You have taken a decision, you need to understand what's the outcome. So you need to see after a result is success or after something went success, you need to find out, yeah, what I have done made this success. What all things I did made this a failure. So this is one of the best practice in which you will be able to improve the decision-making skill. Always reviewing what you have done. Maybe after completing one series examination in your school, a set of examination where you have completed all the 5 subjects, you felt like in mathematics, you're not able to write all the questions. Or maybe in physics, you're not able to remember all the things. You're not able to draw the structures in chemistry. So you may have these problems or you may have faced these problems. So the best way to improve the decision making is always reviewing what you have taken or what decision you made. This is something which is really interesting for all of you. I hope so. So are there any challenges which are there for decision making? This topic is really interesting. So the first one is FOMO. Have you ever heard about this term? Something called fear of missing out, FOMO. A simple example, I'm planning to buy a phone. My budget is 10,000 rupees. I'm planning to buy a phone. My budget is 10,000 rupees. So what do you look for? The features, right? Memory, maybe camera, that's important for me. The processor, that's important for me. Somehow after searching, I ended up in three options. One is camera, second one, three mobile phone options. One is camera, the second one is something called the memory or the processor, something like that. So now I am feeling the fear of missing out. So what it can be? I'm in a stage where I'm not able to decide whether it's the first one, second, or the third one. Because if I'm taking the first one, I'll miss out the two other factors. If I'm taking the second one, I'll miss out the first and the third factor. If I'm taking the third one, I'll miss out the first and second. It's something which is very important or very important challenge of decision making process. It is very difficult, or this is something which a lot of students are facing. They feel like you need to do this, but these are the three things or these things I can get if I'm doing all these things. So what you will do, or most of the students will try out all the three things, and maybe sometimes they'll not be able to solve all of them or able to do all of them. If they are choosing one or two from that, they'll be able to do it in a better manner. It's something called the fear of missing out. It's a hindrance for decision making process. Now the second one is paradox of choice. It's also very important. Whenever I'm gathering information, I'm able to receive a lot of information. One situation, I have too much of information with me. The second one is when I'm searching for information, I'm not able to get anything. The third one is I'm able to receive information, but most of them are false information. So I am in a situation where I'm flooded with a lot of information, or I'm not having any information, or I'm having false information. This is also a challenge in decision-making process. Then the next one is misidentifying the problem that we already mentioned. A lot of companies have faced a lot of issues due to this. And overconfidence in outcome. I have seen this in a lot of students. It's like they feel like my friends are going for this course, so we want to be a gang for the next 4 years in this campus. I'll also go there. They may not be good in subjects, but they are not thinking that. They only want to keep up that relation with the kids they are having or with the group. So it's something like being overconfident about the outcome. It will not affect me. I'll go there and I'll study the course. I'll complete the. Then next important factor is something called decision paralysis. A simple example to all of you. When you're planning to order food, earlier it was like we have 3 or 4 options in which they'll come to our home and they'll deliver food. Now it's like we are having a lot more options. So different people will have 50% off, 30% off, this much delivery free, lot of options. So when we are flooded with a lot more options, we are not able to take a decision. That's something called decision paralysis. It's mostly not materialized. I would say a company which is having 5 important, maybe CEOs, I would say 5 important people who are planning to do a meeting to take decision on their implementation or something like that. And when they're meeting, they found out something, or they found that a lot of things are coming up. They are not able to take any decision. That's something called a paralysis situation has happened, where they are not able to decide on whether this thing to do or that thing to do. So all these are some of the challenges in the decision-making process. I hope up to this it's clear. Now we'll be discussing about something which is really important. It's a career decision model. This is you students who are planning to take a decision on your career. It's called the CASP cycle. Why it's named like it's a really important part of psychology. It's a part of the cognitive information processing. Those people who wish to be problem solvers or decision makers in their life, they'll study something called the CASP cycle. This is also a series of process where we have 5 steps: communication, analysis, synthesis, valuing, and execution. So the first letter of all these terms form the process, which is CASP cycle. So we'll discuss about all these things. And before taking a career decision, I have some questions to every one of you. You need to ask these questions to yourself. How many of you have an idea about what is something that interests you, or what are your interests? Which areas are you interested in? What are things you value in your life? Is it money? Is it something else? Or is it something like relationship? There are a lot of things that you need to consider. What you value in your life. What skills you have. Is it decision-making capability? Are you good in communication? Or are you a good problem solver? Or is it critical thinking? So there are a lot of things that you need to consider. Maybe which occupations or which sectors you wish to work with. All these are some of the questions that you need to ask to yourself before taking a decision. Now we'll discuss about these steps. So the first step is communication. Communication is the step in which you're going to identify the problem. What is the problem that you're facing? It may be internal to me, or it may be due to some external factors. Something internal means I'm very afraid of the mathematics subjects. So I don't know how I'm going to make the test paper or the surprise test that this teacher made. I know it's very bad. I'm not able to perform well. Something related to your emotion. It comes from inside. Maybe about your psychological state. That's the first thing. Second one is external factors. I would say some event or maybe something can affect you. Maybe the words of somebody can affect you. So this is the first stage in which you need to identify what are the problems that are affecting you, or what's the communication part that's affecting you. And the second step is something called analysis. In the analysis stage, you need to analyze different things that we have already discussed about your skills, about your interest, or about what you value in your life. So you need to have an understanding about all these things. Now, another important part is something called the optional knowledge or the options knowledge. I would say I wish to work as a teacher, maybe as a doctor, as an engineer. So I'm having three options, three job opportunities I'm having. So as I want to work with this, I think I'll take science. I'll take mathematics and biology. So in which you are listing out what all things you need to do. You are analyzing about the alternatives. When it comes to career, I have discussed different careers. I want to be a teacher or an engineer or a doctor. So it's common to take something related to biology or mathematics. So that's decided. I'll take both of them. Now the next step is something called synthesis, where there are two stages. The first one is elaboration and second one is crystallization. I hope everybody has seen a funnel type structure. One side it's open and the second side it's narrow, right? In the open side, you'll have a lot of options like what we have mentioned. You want to be a teacher, or it's like a doctor or an engineer. Or maybe it's like, we can say computer science teacher or mathematics teacher or biology teacher. We can define that like that, the open part of the funnel. When it comes to the next part called the crystallization, it's narrowing down and you have two or three options. You thought you have decided like, yeah, I'll quit biology. I don't want to be a doctor. So it's like mathematics, either engineer or a teacher. So it can be a high school teacher or a high secondary teacher or maybe a lecturer, a professor, or maybe a mechanical or civil or computer science or different engineering. There are different options, right? So that will be the end portion or the narrowed portion of the funnel. Now the next step is something called valuing. You have two options now, engineering or teacher. You need to number this or you need to rank this. So the first one is a teacher and the second one is an engineer. So I listed it. Now I have decided on, yeah, this is my first and this is my second. Next part is execution, where you're implementing it. During that implementation, you need to understand. If I'm taking the subject of mathematics, I need to complete my PG to be a teacher. Maybe I need to take my B.Ed. What's the next step? Maybe I need to complete my PhD to work as a professor. I need to get experience. So it's like you are adding a lot of things. So initially you thought you will complete your PG, you will work in a school, maybe private firm or private school. Then you are feeling like, yeah, I'll write government exam and I'll join a government school or college. So you need to find out which all exams you need to write. So this is how the career or the job or the cycle is working. So this is how you should work on. This is something which is proved and which is being used now also. So this is something called as the CASP life cycle, where we have the 5 stages. It's communication, analysis, synthesis, valuing, and education. Now we'll be discussing about the next part of today's session, which is prioritization, which is also an interesting part. Actually, we'll not say decision making and prioritization as a separate thing. Both are a combination And when it's a combination only, we'll be able to implement it in our life. You can just go through this. These are the different parts. It's like communication, analysis, or the vision, or the different steps. What all are there in each step? I have just listed out, and this is the detailed part of the CAS model. So I hope it's fine to all of you, and we'll move forward. Now, moving on to an interesting topic, which I'm really interested of, it's something called prioritizing. Okay, I hope all of you are listening. So, a question to the audience, the students here: how many of you prioritize your daily task? How many of you use this prioritization, not techniques, maybe prioritize the different things which you're doing on a day-to-day basis? So we'll start discussing about prioritization. According to me, prioritization is a two-step process. It requires two things. The first one is identification, and the second one, which is really important, is the decision-making skill. So decision-making and prioritization are really linked with each other. I would say we were confused. If we are having a lot of things to do in a day, we are really confused about which one to start with, what I'll do, what all things I have to do. So determining which task is important and in which order you have to do it. It's a very important part, or it's an essential part of our life. So always do prioritize things. We'll discuss a lot about prioritization, the concept, what all things you need to do. So what's the importance of prioritization, or why we have to prioritize things? Prioritization allows you to give your full focus or your attention to a single task that is considered as important or urgent from your side itself. You consider one task as important or urgent, or it's really important for me. That's why you have prioritized it. And you can focus the other task maybe later. That's what prioritization mostly focus on. It gives you, or it allows you attention to focus on one task, which is very important for you, and you can focus on the other task later. There may be some students who are following the concept of to-do list now. It's like I'll have a list of 5 or 7 points. I'll do these things in the day. That's a very good habit, I would say. So if you create a to-do list, and if you're doing something called the prioritization, your productivity, your sense of accomplishment, and your confidence, it can raise to another level. So try to practice the concept of prioritization in your life. You'll not understand the importance, maybe because you're in your school, or maybe because you're younger kids. So when you're implementing this from your maybe 8th, 9th, or 11th, from this stage itself, you'll have this attitude whenever you're working in a company, whenever you're flooded with a lot of works. So try to implement this in your life. It's very important. Can you see the picture what the to-do list is? It's a lengthy one, right? Whenever you feel like I'll start doing things, I'll work from today onwards, I'll do everything on time, I'll complete all the pending portion, all the assignment. When you have that attitude, what you feel is you'll have a list with maybe 20 or 25 things. You'll feel like you'll do everything at once. So what prioritization means is you have to focus on one task, and you need to leave all the other tasks untouched or unattended. That's why prioritization is important. You have one task, you need to focus on that. Maybe when you are doing it for the first time, you'll feel like I'm not productive, I'm not able to do anything. You'll have that guilt in you. So it can create a sense of panic, but it's completely fine. In the beginning, prioritization may seem overwhelming, or it's like, it's okay to feel like you're not able to do all the things. You're not able to cover all the things. It's okay to feel that. And maybe some students feel like I'm not having any time to implement the concept of prioritization. Why? Because I'm occupied with a lot of things. My life is full of demands. From morning 9 to evening 5, I'm having my school, maybe 8 to 5. After that, I have my tuitions. And that too for separate subjects, I am having separate time slot. Then I have my assignments, my school work, my project work, all these tests that these people are doing. I have to have some personal time. Maybe I'll just play some games for some time. I need to sleep. I need to study for exam. A lot of people will be like procrastinating different things. You'll have all these things, but never try to procrastinate things. When you feel like you're not having a time to prioritize things, just understand that it's not for 1 day or 1 week or 1 month. It's something which you need to carry out through your life. So start prioritizing, or just try to have a habit of prioritizing things in your life. It's a very important part, or it's a combination, decision making and prioritization. Now, another question to all of you: have you ever faced a situation in which you feel like, yeah, it's tough to make a decision? Have you ever faced a situation in which you felt like, yeah, it's really tough for me to take this decision? If yes, you can just type what's the situation in the chat box. Okay. So whenever you're planning to take decisions, or whenever you're planning to prioritize things, you will learn to say yes or no. That's the most important factor. Most of us are not able to say yes or no at the to some people. So if you're planning to prioritize things, your things are scheduled, your day is scheduled, your life is scheduled. Now you don't have some time for something else, so you will say no. So it's something, prioritization can help you to inculcate the ability of saying no. Learn to say no. That's really important. And whenever you feel like doing something, think about what's the outcome. What is important for you? Just surfing, or is it something like writing your assignment? Or is it something like hang out with your friends, or preparing for an entrance exam, something like NEET or JEE, or maybe I would say CLAT, or any entrance examination, or any AIED, or any of the entrance examination. So you need to understand which one is priority, which one is important. Then you need to take the decision. So that's why prioritization is important in the concept of decision making. Now, I have a tip to all of you. I would never ask you to be realistic towards every individual that you meet in your life, but at least be realistic towards yourself. When you are realistic towards yourself, when you have a self analysis, when you make a self analysis, when you watch yourself for 2 or 3 days, you'll get an idea about, yeah, I'm doing things like this. I'm this person. So if you have an idea about yourself, you will surely be able to understand that you will not be able to complete a to-do list of 20 or 25 tasks in a day. Most of the students are having that list. Why? Because you will not be able to understand what you need, what you don't need, and all those things. So just try to analyze yourself, having an understanding about yourself, identify yourself. That's a very important part. So if you're not able to find out the time and the task that you need to complete, it's like you'll end up with the list that we have already mentioned. So just have a list with maybe 8 or 7 points. That's really important. And these are some tasks which I feel like most of the students are practicing whenever they are prioritizing things. I have a to-do list of 7 things, or maybe 12 things. Of this, 3 things or 3 process will consume less than 10 minutes. So what I'll do is, I want to cut down the things in the list. I want the items to get reduced to 3 or 4. So what I'll do is, I'll start with the small task. Maybe you feel like you can have a lot of time. You'll save the time for the task which requires more effort or something like that. But it's the wrong thing. The second method is easy task. You will have a small task which will consume less time, or it's like an easy task. I would give you one example. My chemistry textbook is having 20 chapters or maybe 19 chapters. I know the 9 chapters really good. It's like I know everything from those chapters. When your exams are there and when you're having the study holidays, it's like you will start with those 9 chapters. It's actually a waste of time, right? I know maybe you will take 4 or 5 days to study 9 chapters of chemistry, but you have a bulk of thing that's left behind. You have a lot of thing that's left behind. So you have to start with something which is difficult for you. That's another point. Whenever you're planning to prioritize things, start with those which is difficult for you. Start with those larger tasks. And I have encountered a lot of students who feel like, I did this because I felt like I'll do that. It was my feeling, it was my mood. I was into that thing and I did it. It's not a good thing. Whenever I'm okay in doing that, I'll do it. It's not a good thing. It's just an excuse which you used to say. And some students are like, I have written 6 things. I'll start only from the first thing. A lot of students are doing this in the exam hall. You'll have 10-mark questions, you'll have 5-mark questions, you'll have 2-mark questions. A lot of students will start from the 2-mark. They'll spend a lot of time in writing the 2-mark and the 5-mark. And then this essay part, which 4 or 5 essay questions with the 10 marks. It's like they're not able to complete it correctly because it's like they spend a lot of time in writing this 2-mark and 5-mark question. So try to analyze things from all the angles before prioritizing. Now we'll be discussing about a simple tool. It's called the decision matrix. I hope you heard this name. You remember this name that we were discussing earlier. The decision matrix is a tool which helps you to evaluate different options with better clarity and objectivity. It's like there is a situation in which we are tired of making decisions. The same example which I would like to refer as of ordering the food. There is 50% off from someone. They are having zero delivery charges. Somebody is having zero delivery charges. Someone is saying it's like you'll have 100 rupees off, you'll have a 200 rupees off. So you need to calculate all these things before a decision. So it's like you are tired of all the things. So when you have a decision matrix, the chance of this decision fatigue can be reduced. And also the subjectivity in decision making. We thought like, yeah, I'm going for a trip. I was thinking like I'll book the room with the lowest price, but I ended up booking a room which was like it's good to see. So it's like you will move from what you have thought. So these are all the things that can be cleared when you use the concept of decision matrix. This is a concept which was introduced during the World War II time. It was found by Eisenhower and it's still followed by a lot of people across the world. So see the importance of this concept. So this decision matrix is a time management tool which helps you to prioritize and make decisions about the tasks that you need to perform, about the work that you need to perform. This can be used in your personal as well as your professional life. So I would, yes. I hope the diagram is visible. Here I have a matrix. I have divided it into 4 quadrants. So I have Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. These are the 4 quadrants I'm having. So I've classified the tasks into urgent, important, urgent, not important. So different sector. So the quadrant 1 is urgent and important. If I'm having a task which is very urgent, which is very important, I'll do it now. If I'm having a task which is important, but it's not urgent, I have I have some lab experiments pending, but my teacher asked me to complete it after in 2 weeks. So I have 2 weeks time. So you have enough time, and maybe you can fix the lunch breaks of some days, in which you can go to the lab and you can complete the experiment. So you need to decide on it's important, but it's not urgent. So you need to decide on which time slot you can allocate it. Now the next one is not important, but it's urgent. It's not at all important for you, but it's urgent. Maybe you can ask somebody else to do it for you. Maybe your father, your mother, your brother, or someone like that. And there are some tasks which we never thought of as something like not important and not urgent. We'll come to know about it only after we have a to-do list and we have started prioritizing the things according to this matrix. You'll come to know about it only after you have allocated the to-do list things to this matrix. So if it's not important, if it's not urgent, then no need to do it, right? It's nothing wrong in that. So you can just delete it. This is a matrix which is followed by a lot more people. So please try to make use of this. When now you have a to-do list, just think, no need to write or do anything. Just think, is it important? Is it urgent? Just have a tick for that. You have to do it in the first. You have to do that task first. I hope some students have already followed it earlier. Now, these are some of the skills which is really important and it helps you to improve decision making. There is no easy way to improve your decision making skill. How much you are skillful in different sectors, your decision making ability is improving. Whether it's your communication skill, it's your problem solving skill, it's your reasoning, it's your time management, or it's your teamwork. How much you are improving, how much you are able to improve these skills, your decision making also improves. Now, last but not least, it's really important to consider ourselves, right? So it's really important. Self-care is really important. So try to care yourself. If you have achieved something big, try to reward yourself. Small things which we used to say, tell our kids. Something like you can go out, watch a movie, have a favorite chocolate for the small kids. So you can do whatever that makes you happy. So always try to take care of yourself, always reward yourself. That is really important in life. I know as your students from 8th to 12th, it's really important for you to take a psychometric test before taking a career decision. This is our free psychometric test for the students. You can just note down the URL. Maybe towards the end of the session, I would type this in the chat box also. So you can just register it and you can take the test. It's not something about your physics, chemistry, or maths or biology. It's something general question. Example, like when you're in a traffic jam, something happens. What you will do at that moment? Some similar sort of questions will be there. So please try to take this test. And I have a program for you all. It's the Engineering Foundation program. which will happen from December 12th to 16th. Everybody will have a question. Why am I studying all these subjects? The integration, the double integral, the differential, the trigonometric identities. You'll be like, why am I studying all these things? So this is a course which will give you an idea about where are we using all the topics that we have studied in our school, in our real life, or maybe something related to technology. So if there is anything, you can contact me through this mail ID or this number. I hope you can take a screenshot. If there is anything, you can write to me, or even you can text me. So thank you so much for attending the session. And maybe sometimes when you feel like I don't want to do anything, every day may not be good. So try to understand that it's okay to feel bad. It's okay to feel I don't want to study. It's okay to feel I want to quit something. So always try to find out some techniques which can motivate yourself. We all, your teachers, maybe those people who are taking sessions, your school teachers, your parents, everybody have a supporting role in your life. But try to understand that your life is yours and you are important, or your decision is important. So always try to motivate yourself. Be confident. It's like always be confident towards things. If it goes wrong, it's completely fine. I just tried it. Have that attitude towards everything in your life and be open to all the changes. And I wish you all the best. So wish you success, students. So I think I am open to Q&A. If there is anything, you can type in the chat box. Yes, I'm ready for the Q&A. If you have any questions, you can type it in the chat box. I could see one question which was typed earlier. How to stick to your goals which are decided by oneself. So goal setting, it's a very important skill in our life. Whenever you set a goal, you need to find out methods, or you need to find out something which will help you to stick to that goal. Always think about why you have kept that goal. It's like, I want to crack JEE 2023. That is my goal. Why I have taken that goal? Because I want to end up into the topmost institution in the country, something like IIT. I need to complete my graduation from there. It's something that has to be a motivating factor. There has to be a factor that will link with your goal. I would say something emotional is best. So it's something like that will drag you to the goal. When you are taking your phone, it should remind you of why are you taking it. You have to take your note and you have to complete one physics problem. And try to understand that it's nothing comes easy. Nothing comes easy in your life. You have to spend a lot of nights. You have to do a lot of work. You have to sacrifice a lot of things. So try to understand. It's something, it's a part of life. So admit it. Yes, I could see some more questions here. I could see a question. I want to become IAS officer. Which stream should I choose? I would say both are different. IAS is something where you need to start preparation from now onwards, where you can read all the GK things about the English and all those parts you can start training from now itself. But before that, it's something where you need to get a graduation to be into it. So identify which graduation is important for you. It's not IAS is important for you at this point of time. It should be important. Maybe you can allocate some time, maybe in a week, to study something. But what is really important is how to choose the graduation. Maybe why? Because the subject that you will write after this graduation for your entrance, the civil services, will be what paper you have studied. So just try to find out what's your interesting thing. And to all the students here, be your own decision makers in your life. Your parents, your teachers, your fathers, all can have the, all will suggest you different things. But try to take the decision by yourself. Just take opinion from everyone. And yes, no, it's like when it's doctor, you need to decide on it's MBBS or BDS or naturopathy, yoga, or Ayurveda, whatever it is. The specialization comes only after completing it. So your goal should be NEET 2023. I hope it's 23. Yes. How to make oneself good or successful. It's not a single day process. It's just a process which will be there with us maybe till our death. It's like we need to improve ourselves in a day-to-day basis, on a day-to-day basis. What are decisions we are taking? Maybe something goes wrong. We need to learn the lesson. We need to implement the new thing. And having a routine, or having it's something of old type of thing, having a timetable that we used to say, having a routine is really important in your life. Having a time, or having a time frame or a time stamp allocated to different things in your life is really important, for relaxation, for studies and everything, for enjoying with friends and all. How to deal with FOMO? It's a very good question. So it's like you need to understand, we were having three factors, right? One was the phone memory, the camera, And I guess one more was there. So you need to understand out of the three, which is important for you. Then you need to choose a decision. It's not like you have three things, or you have researched and you are at 3 points. Now you need to rank them as 1, 2, 3. Yes, how to crack class 10 CBSE board. I would say it's easy to crack the board exams. Don't worry about it. Be strong in your concept and know how to write. That's it. You'll be able to crack it. It's not about cracking for a competitive exam and all. It's tough. But Tejaswini, always be competitive towards yourself. If the first time you got it, I would say an 80 in mathematics, the next time your aim should be to beat that 80, not to beat something that your friend have scored. So always try to compete with yourself. Keep that spirit with you. That's really important. Try to analyze yourself. Then the small tips that your teachers will discuss with you during the class. It's like small tips that will come with a mathematics question. She'll say, this was the question which was asked in this exam, and this is really important. And they can ask this question by replacing the scores with tan. So this is the way in which we will answer the question. Maybe you'll have the same question ditto in your exam paper. I have encountered all these things in my life. So that's why I'm saying. So always try to compete with yourself. Take steps in which you make sure that you are improving yourself every day. How to make quick decision. Okay, it's a very tricky part. Whenever you're having time to take a decision, it's something like you can take it relaxed. There are a lot more factors that you need to consider when you're planning for a quick decision. You may be nervous, you feel like something of a deadline type of thing. So one advice to you is something like always try to be calm in that situation, or always try to be composed in that situation. Then think about the different consequences that will happen when you're taking the 1, 2, or the 3 decision. Then decide on whether it's 1, 2, or 3. Have to be confident. I feel very nervous when talking, asking questions from anyone except my parents, friends, and teachers. I hope you are maybe in your 8th or 9th or that class. It's really okay to feel nervous when you're not something like you're not able to talk with some people. You're not comfortable in talking with people. But try to understand that it's a very important ability that you need to create from your own side. Why? Because communication skill is a very important part. What will happen? I would say you may be feeling embarrassed, something of that thing, or you may feel like what they'll feel, what the other people will feel. It's not whatever they feel, it's nothing to do with you, right? Maybe for 1 day or 2 days you'll feel bad. After that, it's like you will come out of that. So what you have to do is you have to come out of that barrier, and you'll be able to do it only when you're practicing it. Maybe after 2 years or 3 years, when we are in a session, you will be somebody who will be like, you will go and talk with them. What's there in initiating a conversation? It's a very good character when it comes to different managerial part, or when it comes to different sectors. I hope it is okay. I hope you received the reply. So just try to do it. Don't worry about anything. You know yourself, right? So you don't need to prove among anyone. And it's okay to feel nervous when you're communicating with somebody whom you're not close with, somebody whom you're seeing in your life for the first time. What will happen? Nothing will happen. If for the first time, if they're feeling like this girl is not talking, or this girl is not able to answer in a good way, it's okay. Let them feel. It's like, I don't have anything in that. Have that attitude. You can develop it from your side. It's just talking to somebody, right? Yes, for those students who feel like, how can I understand the decision that I made is correct? And when you feel like it's wrong, it will be too late. For those students, I would say have backup plans with you. That is really important. It's something that I forgot to say during the session. When now you're planning for a career or anything, have backup plans with you. It's like we were having a set of alternatives, 4 or 5. In that, I found that third one was good. I started implementing it. Maybe after implementing, maybe after 1 week or 2 weeks, I feel like this is not happening, or it's not the one that I thought. So always keep that alternative choice in your mind and be ready to act in that alternative also. So that way you'll be able to avoid it. So I hope the session was useful. You have received an idea about decision making and prioritizing. And be brave, always be open towards changes. Just give a try to everything in life. If it's not working, yeah, it's not working. Try another thing. That's it. Have that confidence, and all the best to all the students. Thank you so much for coming, and have a happy day. Good night, all. Bye.